All right.
Okay.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Ainee. How are you?
I'm doing good. And how about you?
I've been very well, thank you. Looking
Thank
forward
you.
to our conversation today.
It's really so nice to meet with you again. And I know the audience must be waiting for the third episode. So, this space is for leaders, professionals, and humans navigating complexity, where we slow down just enough to listen inwardly. So, mindful leadership begins with self leadership, with awareness, compassion, and the courage to meet what's here. So, welcome everyone.
Yes, awesome. Thank you for that introduction about mindful leadership and the inner pause is so important, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So today we're going to talk about the heart framework and how you use the heart framework as a personal leadership um, transformation model that really thrives on compassion, value alignment, and deep inner awareness. And I'm really interested in exploring this heart framework with you because it's such a large part of what you do. And it brings in different perspectives that my work doesn't. So I'm looking forward to learning more about those from you as well. So um,
Thank, thank you so much.
yeah.
Um, I feel that the last episode we talked about the four pillars, and
Mhm.
it's more to me, uh, it's like the outer structure of a mindful leadership. So
Mhm.
today, with the heart framework, I will look at it as an inner transformation that shapes
Awesome.
how leaders show up. So it's
Awesome.
kind of, I think it works very well together.
Yes,
Yeah,
but
how they show up in making decision, how they show up in a conversation, and how they show up in relationship, communications,
yeah,
right?
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to know from you, let's talk about what it really means to lead from the heart.
It's a
My,
long,
my
long story.
Well, my first question for you is, every framework grows out of, a desire for a lived experience, right? Something that happened in your life that said, oh, wow, um, this framework really resonates with me
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
because of certain reasons. And I want to know what were the things that really drew you to the heart framework uh, during your personal life, professional life, and how it's we'll talk about how it's helped transform you.
Well, if I really put that in words, I think it's my personal own transformation.
Mhm.
So back then, I was in a high pressure environment, in engineering industry, in the corporate world. I always thought that I was not good enough, being a woman in a man's field. So
Mm.
I strive to prove myself. Um, and I was taught that I have to be strong, be capable, be composed, especially in the engineering those days where women are not seen in that way, right?
Mhm.
Because it's a man industry.
Yeah.
So on the outside, I look confident, composed, right? But
Mhm.
inside, I was really constantly judging myself. Am I doing this right? Am I doing this thing? You know, as
Mhm.
I climb up the career ladder. So there was like, I put on a very thick mask in a way because I have to, right? Because everybody was looking at me, like I really have to prove myself.
Yeah.
So there was some kind of a realization for me, how we relate to ourselves shapes how we lead others. So I wasn't having that much of a confidence. Inside, I was really exhausted, but I have to put on a front as a leader at that time. So I feel that when we are harsh on ourselves, and then we are also hard and rigid on people, we become really defensive and really controlling. That's the kind of awareness I felt. And along with that practice of mindfulness, I feel that leading people really starts leading myself first.
Mhm.
That's where this heart framework come from. Yeah.
Yeah, that inner self is so important, isn't it? Um,
Mm-hmm.
to to come to a realization that you had to lead from your inner awareness and inner self was very powerful. It's a
Mm-hmm.
very powerful thing,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the situation you were in, working in a predominantly male dominant environment. So,
Yeah.
um, so that's awesome. So, how did the heart framework come? How did you find the heart framework, and how did you put that into perspective and action in your work at that time?
So like I say, self-leadership has to start with ourselves. So with the mindfulness practice, I start holding space for myself. I
Okay.
start taking the pause. I start observing. And over time, HEART became a framework that I've been using it, that I've been sharing it, but not literally put it as a framework. But it's been
Okay.
practiced for so many years until recently I feel like, okay, I really have to share this, you know? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so the heart, just a quick one, is holding space and holding
Okay.
space for ourselves, and therefore we can hold space for others. And then
Mm-hmm.
the E is embodying compassion, because if I don't have compassion for myself, I won't have compassion for others as well, right?
Right.
Yeah. And the A obviously is aligning with our values and our purpose. So intention comes first. Where do I come from, right? Where am I heading, right? Instead of
Yes.
blindly trying to fit in, which I used to, right?
Right.
Yeah. And then the R is really resilience, reset and to come back, and then the T is transform obviously and thrive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Oh,
feel like this is the stages that I went through, and along with the practice, it's kind of become an inner regulation, a foundation for me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. It's great to find a framework that really, really resonates with you, doesn't it? And that you can really put to work in your own life. It's
Mm-hmm.
really very powerful and makes your transformation uh, seem much easier. It must have seemed much easier because you have this heart framework and you can put it into practice and you can practice it daily till it becomes part of really, really who you are. And I know
Mm-hmm.
it's really part of who you are through our previous conversations. So that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome that you found that.
I also thought that being human,
Yeah.
because leadership, it's it to me, it felt like in the corporate world, in this high pressure environment, when it comes to leadership, right? Like I say, you have to be composed, you have to do things right, you must know the answer, you are expected to be the
Yeah.
one that people look up to, right? But
Mhm.
in that way, I feel like I'm not honoring myself, my feelings as being human. So I always relate leadership it starts with yourself and being human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I, I love that you bring in the human side, that because that human side is so important in leadership, right? Um, is there something that you found in your own career through adding that human side into your thought process and your transformational journey that really changed how you led others?
I think it's really being real as a human being.
Yeah.
Sometimes in leadership position, we are not real. If we put on a face,
Yes,
we
yes,
put
that
on
is
a
true.
mask, right?
Yes.
But I realized that in that way, those days, my boss would tell me, you have to suck it up. Sorry to use that word, but that's exactly what he says. You have to be composed, you have to do this, you have to be the
Yeah.
one that people look up to. And that means that I am suppressing my emotions, right?
Mhm.
There are times that I'm scared, there are times that I have fear, or there are times that I have confidence also, right? But these are all being
Yeah.
human. We have a very variety of emotions. Emotions comes and emotions go. I feel like sometimes being in that position, leadership position, we're
Mhm.
not really honoring that self. And and again, it comes back to that struggle.
Uh-huh.
So may I share a story that I actually had this realization that I was in a boardroom, being the youngest voice always,
Mhm.
in a male dominated industry, and then always the softest ones because I'm a lady, right? And I remember we were debating about whether to have this annual dinner with a meeting together, the
Mhm.
conference, regional conference. So tension were escalating, and
Mhm.
there were kind of two sides to of you know whether to do it, not to do it, and they were like debating and all that. I just stood there frozen.
Oh, wow.
I stood there frozen because I was the
Brother.
president at that time, right? The youngest president, I was in my
Yeah.
early 30s. I was like, hmm. But what felt right at that time was I really took that pause.
Okay.
Yeah. I did not take sides. I was there, present, listened, and all I did was let's relook into sustainability. Are we sustainable as a team? And then
Mhm.
this whole meeting went quiet. So I
Yeah.
thought at that moment that was this realization or insight that I don't have to force things to happen. You know, that
Right.
presence itself creates space for others to make their own decisions.
Thank
And
goodness. Yeah.
it happened beautifully.
And I'm so glad you bring this up because, this leads into the next question of how do you handle yourself um, as a professional in those high stakes situations, right?
Mm-hmm.
What makes the difference in those when you have those big challenges, those high stake environments where you are forced to make a decision with others, and how do you do that within the heart framework and also maintaining your own values, right? And maintaining being true to yourself and your own human identity. I think it's a very powerful story that you share on, how you did that. Um, and that you did take time just to take a pause.
Yeah.
And and uh, the end result obviously was, um, a powerful transformational tool for you, right? Because you realized
Mm-hmm.
wow, I don't have to, I'm frozen. And so you realize your emotional state,
Mm-hmm.
and then taking that pause afterwards helps you helps open up opportunities for you, it sounded like. And you were able to make the best decision for yourself and your team.
Yeah,
So
that
that,
was that, slight insight and realization. Yeah, because
yeah,
those days we were taught to, push it. You have to be the loudest in the room. You have to make things happen.
yes, 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 yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And it seems like sometimes, oftentimes, the loudest person in the group is the one that people follow, but that's not always the best, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What's best is, sometimes the quietest and the person who takes the time to think about it most internally and with their own value system, maybe the better person to follow than the one who's, loud and making that their leadership presence known, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Very two
Yeah.
different ends of the spectrum, someone who's quiet and pause and and positioned to make a good decision, and someone who's leading out front and just going through the motions of this is what I think I need to do. So very two different powerful perspectives on leadership, right? And how you took time to pause and really make a powerful decision for yourself. So I really admire that. That's using your framework
Yes,
to the
using without knowing that, without putting the
yeah,
framework together yet. Yeah,
yeah,
that's exactly what I realized. Then slowly I realized that is some kind of a pattern that I
yeah,
use. Yeah,
uh-huh,
so I hold space, I bring compassion in, and then I align myself with, hey, how do I want to show up, right? My
yeah,
values,
yeah,
right? And
yeah.
then yeah, and then I can reset and transform,
Yes, yes,
or reflect, and then rise with whatever that comes out and then transform, right?
that's
So,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Very, very good. I love that. I love that example. It's one that really should resonate with a lot of people in today's high pressure environment and
Mm-hmm,
world.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Let's move on to another question as far as the heart framework, because this one's a very, very important one, and that's a subject of listening. As a leader, how does the heart framework uh, help you to listen and take time to really approach communication as a valuable transformational tool?
um I think that listening is not listening outward but listening inward for me.
Mm,
Yeah, so I
wow.
was really listening to my own, right?
Oh,
What
yes.
really serves me as a leader? How do I really want to show up? Because I realize that many leaders understand empathy, compassion, but really applying it, right? It's gonna take time because the body is gonna show up, you know, when
Mhm.
listening, as in when I am triggered, right? We all get triggered in some ways, whether we exaggerate it or it is kind of putting it on a more neutral position. Um, I feel like every time in the high pressure environment, like you mentioned, I
Mhm.
listen more inward, yeah, so that I know where am I coming from.
Right.
So regulating inward, holding space for myself. Am
Mhm.
I pushing myself too hard? Or am I saying things that I don't mean? Right? I take that pause and apply empathy, right? And,
Right.
and listening to myself, because we are the one who owns our own emotions. So if
Mhm.
I'm listening outward, Yeah, they may say something, they may say something that might trigger me, but when I get triggered, I own that emotions. Why do I get triggered? So it's all about my inner regulations, right? Maybe they have said something that triggered my confidence, right? That triggers my values, right? So when you say listening, what came to mind was really listening inward first before we can communicate outward with a proper intention and kindness.
Oh, yeah. That's a very, very powerful way to communicate. Um, because knowing yourself and how you're feeling at the time and what emotions are going through your body or your mind and your heart make all the difference in how you express your outward actions, right? So you're listening to yourself first before you express that outward action, which creates a much more intricate and transformational conversation
Mm-hmm.
with someone else because you are in control of how you feel.
Exactly.
And that control of how you feel makes all the difference because you are not reacting, you are being human.
That's exactly being human. I really love that because I feel a lot of time when I meet people, they're not really human. No. Because I always, when I teach in class, right, I say we are
Uh-huh.
really human doing. People are just doing, doing, doing. They're not
Yes, yes,
being. So
yes,
there's a word, right? Human
yes,
being means being with who you
yes.
are, be real. But people that I meet, they're humans doing, they are not being. Ah,
I love that thought because it oftentimes um, our outward look is that yeah, people are just doing things, right? To do
doing
things
things. Yeah, they're not here.
rather than really thinking through the process inwardly before they act outwardly. And your frame, the heart framework, and also my pillars really emphasize that you have to look inward first before you act outward, and you have much better results because of that, right?
Hmm.
So wonderful, wonderful,
Oh, thank
awesome.
you.
So, what do you typically see um, in leaders that you work with that you help practice the heart framework with? What do you see helps change and challenge them to create an organizational culture or organizational framework that leads from inward, leads from their inner self rather than outward self. And I'm taking this to the next level where we're talking about organizational culture. What have you seen, and how has the impact been with leaders you work with in helping change organizational culture? And what does that look like?
I feel, not I feel, but what I see is that when leaders themselves practice the heart framework, they become clearer,
Mhm,
calmer, and less reactive, right? And this energy is being transferred to the team.
mm,
Now, because the leader is more composed, more
mhm,
regulated, more calm, therefore, the team feels psychological safety. So they
mm,
are happy to there's better communications, what I see,
uh-huh,
and a
mhm,
greater collaboration in that sense because now that I feel like I can be myself. See, so
mhm,
that's where I see this heart frameworks helps an organization framework
mhm,
because I'm a leader and I'm more calm, I'm more, composed. And the
Mhm.
energy is that I am giving my subordinates, my team members, that stable energy, that calm energy that they feel safe to be themselves, to voice out, to share, to express. And that is
Yes.
one of the most important change that I can see. And the other thing is over time, it becomes a culture, right? Now you
Mhm.
are being frank, not like the conventional kind of leadership where it's parachuted the top down, but
Mhm.
now it's a more horizontal kind of way if you look at it. I call it the old paradigm and the new paradigm of leadership.
Okay.
So the new paradigm of leadership works in that sense. I honor you, I honor your feelings, and I honor myself in that
Right.
way, right?
Right.
And over time, it builds trust.
Right.
Like trust will grow, and people feel that they are contributing. So when a happy person in a company,
Uh-huh.
they how do I put it? They will excel, they will
Yeah.
show their best because they're being trusted, right?
Mm.
And without being judged, that
Yes.
way. So I think the best leaders are the leaders who bring the best out of people.
Excellent. Excellent. Yes. I would tend to agree with that. 100% is you have to be in a inward position yourself to bring the best out of your other people and realize that everybody has a part to play and everybody has a role within the team. But I think you bring it back to psychological safety and trust. And those two key components, I know in my own work, I have found them to be two of the most critical factors in how a team trusts their leader.
Mm.
And
Mm.
whether or not they'll trust their leader is if they feel safe and if they feel that psychological safety to express themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they don't feel that, then they're going to draw inward and they're not going to express or provide as much to the team as they normally would under a
Mm.
safe environment.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad you bring those two things up because they're so critical and so important.
It is so important, yeah, for the leaders to realize this.
Yeah. And it like you said, it's contagious, right?
It
If,
is,
if a
yeah.
leader is expressing that outwardly, then the team members feel it and they feel that safety and trust and they feel like they can express themselves more. Thus the whole organization and the culture change
Mm-hmm.
and the environment is much more open,
Yeah.
honest, clear, and everybody has a good perspective on where their role is and what to do. And that makes all the difference in the world. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
so glad you added that in at the last minute to, you know, uh, see how it changes culture and environments because that's a huge part of what we want to do is not just change the individual, but our frameworks want to change the organization and how people interact together, right?
Yeah.
And that's such an important part. So I'm glad you brought the hey, I'm going to mirror as a leader, I'm going to mirror what I feel is important to you. You'll
Mm-hmm.
mirror that back to me, you'll mirror that to others, and everything will flow nicely.
I like the way you use the mirror, the word choice. It's true because what you emit out energy, it comes back. So it
Yes,
like
yes,
contagious, right? Yeah.
yes. It is contagious, completely, completely. Well, Annie, yeah, this has been such a wonderful conversation today. I'm so glad that we've been able to talk about your heart framework and how it resonates with you,
Mm-hmm.
uh, how it has impacted your personal life and career,
Mm-hmm.
and why it's so important to lead from inwardly,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and how that inward, those feelings inward express your outer actions. And that's such a powerful, powerful tool to use for leaders today, and for leaders to understand that, hey, if I don't know who I am inside, if I don't take time to feel my own emotions, I'm not going to be able to lead my team through from a place of trust and presence and psychological safety. And you've really, really brought out some wonderful, wonderful points. And I just want to say thank you for your time today, and thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing your thoughts and experiences. They're very, very valuable, and I know that others will find them valuable and helpful as well.
Thank you,
So,
Dr. Phil. Thank you
yeah,
so much.
is there anything else you'd like to add?
I think I do want to say that being human from personal experience as a leader, and I do want to say that in my personal transformation in a leadership position, the strength is not merely just mental strength, but
Mhm.
resilience is built through awareness,
Mm.
compassion, and I feel the most important is the ability to meet life as it is, to meet
I love
myself
that.
as it is.
Uh,
Yeah. So I would say the question for the audience, the question for me as well, is not how to lead in high pressure environment, but who are you becoming as you lead, right?
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, so to me, it's
Good
like this has
question.
been sitting on me, right? If
Yes.
I were to share this takeaway, it's not about how to lead under pressure. We all want to know how to lead, but the deeper question is who are we becoming as we lead? Because I think I have lost myself as I led before.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. That's
So
a wonderful, wonderful question to end on, and to help people just ponder as we end our session today is, yeah, how are you, uh, who are you becoming as you lead,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Very, very important. Very
Thank you so
important.
much. Thank you so much. It's a
No,
beautiful
Ainee, thank you so much for
conversation.
your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we'll look forward to some more conversations to share with other people
Mm-hmm.
regarding, the inner pause and
Mm-hmm.
why it's so important, because it's such a valuable tool.
Why don't we just take a quick pause here?
Yeah.
Mm. So I do want to invite the audience to really step inward, you know, to realize what's here. Maybe a subtle sensation, maybe a calling, or maybe it's like realization.
That's wonderful.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And until next time.